guys, welcome back to the Pruning Podcast. I'm your host, Ataya Smith, and happy Tuesday, guys. Long time no see, but I'm so excited to be back, and of course, my best friend's back on the podcast. It's been a long time. It's been since like August, I think, since whenever we first, I think you were on the second or third episode, one of those, but we're like 14 episodes in now, so I'm so excited. And we're going to be talking about all things relationships, breakups, fun times, fun things, of course. But to start off the podcast, Gabby, say hey.
Hey guys, I'm Gabby.
But this is the last episode for 2024, which is crazy. Like, I cannot believe this year is over. That's crazy, okay? So to start off, for the last episode of 2024, we wanted to do like the thing ins and outs for 2025, but Gabby told me we should do it's outs and ins, because out with the old, in with the new. Like, every time you get rid of something, you have to replace it with something good. So outs and ins for 2025. So yeah, we're gonna start off with that, something fun. So Gabby, you have the pleasure of going first.
Okay, are we gonna do like back and forth, or are we going all of mine and then all of yours?
We can go back and forth.
Okay, so the first one for me, what do I want to do first? I think the first one for me is just gonna be fear. And I'm not like a super fearful person, but I've noticed that
one's good.
There's specific areas that I'm just a little fearful. And I think that I'm gonna replace it with just doing things scared, because like we only live one life and it's not that long, and I don't want to miss out just because I'm scared. That's
a good one. I'm adding that to my outs, because I do have a little bit of fear and I feel like I need to add that. But my first one was starting something but not finish. Like, my out was starting something but not finishing. I feel like I start a lot of things but I don't finish it. Like, for example, I'll start a book and I think I've completed one book this year, and I've probably started like 5 of them.
Dang. So
I want to start and finish something, and that's just in all areas of life. So the end would be consistency.
That's really good. I'm adding that to my list actually as well. Well, it's actually already on my list. I think my next one, and this is kind of funny, but for me it's really real, being delusional.
You are hilarious.
Yeah. Because I've noticed that there's like a lot of times, especially with the situations that I've walked through, where I found myself being like delusional. Oh, what if this? What if he does this? Or like, what if he thinks this? And that's just not good for my health.
Yeah.
And so I'm just gonna replace it with thoughts that are prosperous for my soul.
That's good. We all get delusional.
Yeah,
I know from experience. Like, just imagine us having a wedding. Just imagine it. My next one would be to stop rushing everything. I would be to stop rushing everything. I feel like I'm like a fast-paced person. Like, I'm like, it has to happen now. Like, I'm ready for it, and I just rush everything. Like, I don't just enjoy the moment. So I also said, like, stopping to smell the roses is like a famous thing our pastor says. He's like, just stop and smell the roses. So I want to stop and just like enjoy like the little things of life. That's really good. You know?
Yeah. I think my next one is gonna be tolerating. And I know that like nobody's perfect, obviously, and so you're gonna have to go through things in like relationships and stuff. But this year I found myself tolerating a lot of things and like letting people walk over me like a doormat. And so I am just going to replace that with setting strict boundaries and actually sticking to them.
Yeah.
No matter what people think.
Yep. Amen. It's not good to let people walk over you.
No, it's not.
My next would be fear of looking dumb. Like, there's so many things, like, just in life. Like, I want to be the one, like, I don't care what, like, I mean, I say this, but I don't think I'm a people pleaser, but it's also like I won't do something because I don't want people to look at me weirdly. So I just want to like have fun. Like, I don't care if I'm like the only one dancing. I don't care if I'm the only one with this opinion. Like, I just want to not be scared of like being different, I guess. And so being more confident and not caring what others think.
Yeah. I think this is my last one. My last one is going to be scrolling before bed. That's my out. Because like no matter how tired I am, I'll get in bed at night and I will just always scroll on social media. Yeah. Again, that's just not good for me. So instead, I'm going to try hear me out, try journaling every night before bed. But there's a lot of times I get to bed and I'm super tired, so maybe I'll just go to sleep.
Yeah, and that's funny. I have a lot more, but I'm gonna say that one, that's my last one too, because spending more time on my phone than I do anything else.
Yeah.
Like, I want to replace that with reading more, being more intentional in relationships, like hanging out with my friends. Spending more time with God. Like, that time, like, I'm tired, then I'm scrolling on TikTok for like 30 minutes. and I could have read my Bible extra or spent more time with God. So mine was being more intentional with my time. And like, I have slept with my phone away from my bed for forever, but I still wake up and grab it first. It's just it's a very bad habit. I gotta
mine is under my pillow.
Disrupt it. You're hilarious. Like, I'm like, God, I need to not be the first thing I do when I wake up, and then it's under my bed. But yeah, guys, so that's just a train of thought. Y'all get some outs and ins for 2025. Like, it's so good just to have this list, and then I just look back on this like next year at the end of 2025 and like, what could we have done better? What didn't we get to do? You know, that kind of stuff. But yeah, guys, so we're gonna get into the episode. Yay!
It's a really crazy topic for me.
Really crazy topic for Gabby. More crazy than me, because honestly, like, I feel like there's so many people that like talk about breakups and relationships, but like they don't walk it out. And so whenever, like, this is a popular topic, and so whenever I wanted to talk about this, I'm like, I want someone who's like walking it out. And that's why I go to her for all my advice, because she actually takes information, like, she tells me things that she applies to her life. She doesn't just tell me things and like do something different, you know. And so I'm like, what better person who's currently walking through that? And
it's been
so let's just do like a little life relationship update since last time we talked, which I don't even know if we talked about. No, we didn't talk about relationships, but since I guess just recap of this year.
Well, this year has been a rough one for me relationship wise.
I feel like everyone has been.
Yeah. Do you have the questions?
Oh no. I remember some of them.
Okay. This year I started off in January in a long-term relationship. We were dating for a year and a half, and then we actually did end up breaking up in January, and that was a really terrible time for me because we stopped texting, and then we did no contact for a little bit, but then we remained in contact all the way from like, I want to say the end of February to May. Kind of. I don't know. I don't really know the timeline that well, but it was a super unhealthy situation. But this, I'm trying to be careful with how I word this because of what I'm walking through right now, but it was just very difficult, and it still is very difficult, and I'm still definitely walking through that healing process. But both of us got hurt a lot, and then in May, after I got hurt, I thought everything was fine, but I have a habit of distracting myself, so maybe that's another one of my outs for 2025. Distraction.
I know, I understand.
Because I haven't been one to really deal with my emotions a lot, and so I jumped kind of into another relationship, but not really a relationship. It was just a distraction, and then I actually ended up getting hurt from that distraction, which is really crazy. Don't know how that happened, but here we are. And then, yeah, I realized that I didn't actually deal with everything that I was feeling from my long-term relationship. And so I'm just walking through those emotions right now. And we broke up in January, and it's December. Wow. So
a year later.
Yeah, a year later.
Yeah, I find that very crazy because, like, me and Gabby, like, we've been best friends our whole life, but we've never, like, I don't think we've ever, like, walked through the exact same season together. Like, it's always been, like, different things. Yeah. And so, like, this time it's, like, we kind of, like, got into this second relationship at the same time. Yeah. Like, whenever she was talking to her person, I was talking to my person. I mean, she never dated, y'all didn't date him. No. She never dated him, but, like, while I was dating him, I think y'all were still talking, and then whenever we broke up, I think y'all had just ended things too. Correct. Because you remember we called each other that same night. I was like, yes. So we're kind of walking through the same thing. Of course, mine's a little different, you know, because we're like, you know, it's a little different. But it's a little different. But it's still like walking through like breakups, heartbreak, and like I feel like you're the perfect person because I've only been through like 2 breakups or heartbreaks technically.
I've had my fair share.
Yeah, you've had a lot.
Unfortunately.
And I feel like you've walked them out from what I can see. Like, of course not perfectly, but these recent ones, I feel like.
This year.
And I don't think you've ever like, because you know most people go through breakups. And I actually remember one of the questions, but most people go through breakups and they like, you know, they drink it away. And I don't think you've ever been that person. Like you've never like drunk away your feelings. Like you probably, like you said, distractions.
Yeah, but if I used a distraction, it was always another person. But we're doing better now.
But yeah, so my first question would be that I remember off the top of my head that somebody asked is like, how do you get rid of that hatred towards that person?
Ooh, this is a really, really good one. I'd say everyone's process looks a little different. I guess it just depends on how, like, everything happened. I think a lot of times after you get hurt, it's really easy to, like, hate them and speak really negatively of them, and just, like, pray on their downfall, I guess. But something that I've learned this year, that's helped me so much, is that sometimes your trauma is not self-inflicted, but through pride it can be, like, self-sustained. And so if you're just remaining in that constant state of, like, oh, this person hurt me, I didn't deserve that, like, I deserve better, like, they deserve bad things or whatever, you're just self-sustaining, like, your hurt. And so I would definitely say for me, it's been learning to recognize my feelings, but also, like, navigate them and regulate them in a healthy way. And obviously that looks like navigating them with God, but, you know, a lot of people think, oh, I can't be angry as a Christian, or, like, I can't be mad as a Christian, I can't be hurt as a Christian. That's just not realistic at all. And so I think the first step is definitely realizing that you're hurt and recognizing that. And then definitely just, like, walking it out with the Lord in constant surrender and, you know, depending on God.
And that's funny because at first I was like, I don't know, but it's like, I remember I was walking through a season with my sister, and I'm like, God, like, why does she do this? Like, why is she doing this? And I remember, like, God convicting me, and he's like, that's not the way I see her. And, like, that just changed my view on, like, everything, like, just seeing people the way God sees them. Because it's like, at the end of the day, like, I'm not perfect. Like, I mess up, and so do I want someone to ridicule me or think of me differently? Like, yeah, they hurt me, like, yeah, they hurt my mom, like, yeah, they hurt me, but it's like, that's, God doesn't see them like that. So when you change that perspective, it's like, okay.
I can testify to that. This year, somebody that really hurt me, I was going through that angry stage, because I feel like we all go through it whenever you get hurt. But I was going through that stage, and I asked God, I was like, how do you see this person? And I actually got a vision of, like, how the Lord sees this person, and I felt led to share that with them, and it actually was able to help them in their walk with God. And so you just never know. I would also, though, suggest walking with someone higher than you, and walking with someone that's wiser than you, because my mentor, shout out Pastor Abby, she's helped me so much.
And like, not like, I feel like we talked about this in the last episode, but, like, not, like, hanging around those friends who are like, yeah, like, you did not deserve that, like, you, like, they, like, you know, just talking bad about that, because yes, you don't deserve that, like, yes, like, that sucks, but you shouldn't be hanging around friends that, like, influence you to, like, do bad things with them, like, let's go egg his house, or let's be evil towards him, you know?
No, because
like,
that makes you equally as evil.
Exactly. And it's like, you're just at the end of the day, you're just suppressing your feelings, you're not, like, getting rid of anything, you know? And so also just walking that out with God, like, like, okay, I'm hurt, like, this person hurt me, like, God, I need you to help me forgive them, you know? So that was really good. Okay, so let's talk about, like, heartbreak. Like, I know that just sucks, and I know a lot of people are walking through that. So I guess, like, my question would be, like, what's, like, the best piece of advice when, like, first going through that, like, getting your heart broken for the first time? Like, you know, your emotions are everywhere. One, you feel lost, like, you lost a best friend, you lost, like, your person, like, 9 out of 10 times it's the person you thought you were gonna marry, the person you had your life plans with. So it's like walking through that, like, God's way, you know, without, like, because of the world, it's like, let's go drink, let's go party, let's, like, drink these feelings away, but God's like, no.
Man, I would say my biggest one, and I already kind of touched on it, and this is just because of, like, my personal walk and the things that I've struggled with, but you have to be able to yield your heart to brokenness before you can walk through healing, and ignoring it will just never work. And so that, I would say, is my biggest lesson.
I would feel like, I feel like that's really good, because if it's like, if you never admit that they broke your heart, like, some people are like, yeah, I don't care about that. Girl, you know your heart's broken, let's just admit it, like, you gotta admit that first. But I feel like I had to walk through, like, I remember telling Gabby this, and I didn't think about this towards, like, the heartbreak part, but I had to walk through, like, okay, yes, this sucks, like, yes, this person has broken my heart, but, like, I should be happy, because this is not God's best for me. like, if, like, yeah, the heartbreak sucks, but it's like God has so much better for me than a guy who cheated on me, than a guy who's, like, you know, not the one. Like, he has so much better for you than this. And so just coming to terms with, yeah, this sucks, but like, God, if I thought this was good, then like, just imagine his best.
Yeah.
Like, if I thought, oh my gosh, this person was just so amazing, then just imagine God's best for you. So I think that's really good. And then like, I feel like just, I struggle with this, and it's just like making sure like your access denied. Like, I struggle with, I feel like my situation is different. I say that, but it's, I mean, I feel like it's different. Like, I didn't really, I mean, I went through heartbreak. I went through 2 different heartbreaks, but like, it was kind of different. But like, I just had to make, like, not allow that person to have access to me. You know, like, hey, like, I miss you.
That's such a good one.
Or like, no, you broke up with me, so you have no access to me. Like, you cheated on me. You don't have access to me. And it's like, so many times we're like you said, we're being delusional. Like, oh my gosh, like, what if he accidentally did not mean to cheat on me? Like, girl, what? No. Like, what if he's actually sorry?
No, because if you continue to allow them to have that foothold in your life, as long as that door is open, they're gonna keep walking through it every time. And so you're just gonna keep hurting yourself.
Yeah. And that's, yeah, really good. And then man, I'm sorry guys, I forgot my questions. They're on my phone, and like, I just don't want to get up and grab my phone and just look at the questions. But I do have so let's talk about like relationships. So we did heartbreak. Is heartbreak and breakups the same thing? Yeah, would you say?
I would say that breakups are definitely a version of heartbreak, but I think heartbreak can come through other things. Like, if your mom died, you'd be heartbroken.
Oh yeah, like, oh my gosh, grief. You grieve that person too.
Yeah.
So walking through grieving, like, how to grieve the right way, because a lot of us, I don't even know. Like, I'm still like, okay, God, how do I like miss this person the right way? Like, not even the right way, but like,
that's real.
How do I like grieve rightly? Then like crying every night because I miss them. Like, what? I'm
not gonna lie, that is definitely something that I'm still navigating. And if you're close to me, you know that. We were talking about this on the way here. That's something that I'm still trying to figure out how to do. First of all, have grace for yourself. It's your first time living.
And you're human.
You're trying your best. I hope you're trying your best. But have grace for yourself. But I don't know, man. I think it definitely, there's just a fine line between, okay, there's a quote that one of my mentors gave me, and it's that feelings are an indicator, not a dictator.
Yeah.
And so your feelings are indicating, oh wow, that was crazy. Your feelings, your feelings are indicating what's happening within your soul. And so it's okay to acknowledge that and work through that, obviously. But don't let it dictate the things that you do, and don't let it dictate your life.
Yeah. And like, I would also say, like, I remember I like found myself, like, it's so easy. Oh my gosh. So this is so random, but I don't know if y'all ever like heard the song like He's in the Room. But that's my favorite song by Maverick City. One of my favorite songs. Have you ever heard this song?
I've never heard that one.
You've never heard that song?
No.
I don't want to sing because I don't know how to sing. But Tasha Cobbs talked about like how she had to remember that rejection is the branch off of the root of depression. So it's like, if you find yourself like sad, or like even like in a breakup, like you're getting rejected, then you're 9 out of 10 times you're gonna feel like depressed and you're gonna feel sad, because rejection is a branch off of the root of depression. So therefore, like, in these times is not the time to like shy away from God or shy away from your friends or like sulk by yourself, because like when you're sitting through this by yourself, like you're just in the room by yourself, then the enemy has all the room to like attack you and just fill your mind with these thoughts, and like you're like grieving in an unhealthy way. Like, you're in your room crying with no one, no friends, like you're just by yourself, and so all it ends up is you're just sitting here depressed. So I feel like my biggest piece of advice for the person that's walking through heartbreak is to like be surrounded by people. Like, don't isolate yourself.
Oh
like,
my God, yes.
You cannot get through this alone. Like, I could not imagine going through a breakup alone, even though I was like, I don't want to be bothered. Like, leave me alone. Like, I just want to watch TV all day and not have anyone want to ask me if I'm okay. But I'm like, if they wouldn't have asked me, then Satan would have told me that nobody cares about me. So it's like, I just had to, one, silence the voices of the enemy, and then two, like, allow like my friends to see me this way, because it's not even that I didn't want them to see me this way. I was just like, I don't want to like put all this on you, you know, like I just, you know, I'm just sad, and I don't want my sadness to rub off on you. So just allowing yourself to be sad, allowing those friends to console you, and just silencing the voice of the enemy, because rejection, like your breakup, is going to be a branch off the root of rejection. So you have to do everything you can to pause that. And I don't know how that adds up with grief, but yeah.
It'll tie in somewhere.
Another
thing that I definitely has been so encouraging to me, because like I said, I'm navigating through like how to helpfully miss somebody, because I just miss like my best friend. I miss the way that person loved me. I miss that person just being in my life. And so something that the enemy has been doing has been using to lie to me has been like, oh, like what if you never find that again? What if nobody ever loves you like that again? Or like, you know, what if this is your person and you just like miss it, or you mess it up, or something like that. My biggest piece of advice is that you will never miss out on the will of God for your life. And so if that is your person, guess what? God will work it out. They'll come back. Everything will be fine. Guess what? If it wasn't your person, it's God's job to bring it back to you, or bring your person to you. And so something that I've been like working through is it's not my job to go out and find that. Yes, there's a certain level of like making myself available to be pursued. But it's not my job to go find them. And so I just know that no matter what, I am not going to miss the will of God for my life. And so I know that no matter what, it'll be okay, because God will bring my person.
And like I remember Miss Tiffany, shout out to Miss Tiffany Montgomery, she was saying how like, so I'm like, God, like, am I like supposed to be single? Like, I desire to be married, I desire to have a family, but like, what if I'm like supposed to be single? And she was like, you would know, like, if you're, she gave me this big definition. I honestly don't know what word it was, but she was like, you know, like when God has called you to a life of singleness, you would have no desire for that. But God says He cares about the desires of your heart. So therefore, if you have any desire to be married, then God wants you married. Like your husband has to have you. And so God also says like He who finds a wife finds a good thing. So they need wives. They need someone to help them up. It's just like, and I also had to learn, I feel like, maybe like He's not going to give you anything other than like the best time in any other way than the right way. So therefore it's like, God, if I haven't received this yet, am I like, maybe I'm not ready, like maybe I'm missing something. And a lot of times like we're very prideful and we're like, no, like I think that I've grown a lot, like I feel like I've been through this a lot, like I feel like I'm ready for my husband. God's like, you're not ready for your husband. And so I feel like I had to learn that. And then also making sure, this was like a big hit in the stomach for me, but making sure like the gifts God has given us is not, we don't make them idols, you know? Like it's so easy to like idolize something, and Miss Tiffany always says that idol does one thing, and that's disappoint. That's all an idol can ever do, is disappoint you.
Somebody write that down.
That's all they can ever do, is disappoint you. And I know from experience, because I just had a revelation from God that like, it's like the story of Abraham and Isaac. Like Abraham had been praying for Isaac, and Abraham had finally gotten Isaac, and God had asked him like to sacrifice his only son. And I'm like, what? Like I have been praying for this gift, and you asked me to sacrifice it? Like it's like, God, I've been praying for a relationship, and you're asking me to like sacrifice this guy? Like what? Like I've been single for 18 years. Like I've been wanting this, and you're asking me to sacrifice it? And so it's like sometimes God wants to make sure the gifts He's given us aren't idols in our life. And I had to realize that, because I'm like, yeah, I don't have any idols. Like, you know, like it's just me and God. Like, God, you're my number one. And then God's like, okay, Taya, like I need you to like take a break from this person. I'm like, what? Like I cannot go without this person. So I had to come to realization that like I have to make sure like that person is always number two to God, because it's so easy to replace them with God. That was a big realization. And I forgot, I was gonna say something else, but I forgot what I was gonna say. Do you have anything else to say about that?
I'm not gonna lie, I don't even remember the topic.
I don't know, I forgot. But let's transition to like relationships. Like what are some, you've been in a healthy relationship, how long have you? What are some like what does godly dating look like to you, I guess? Oh, also I do want to say that if you are in a season of singleness, it's so important to like write out like your expectations and like your future husband, and like just watch God answer those prayers. Like don't just sit here and be like, I don't have no expectations. Like girl, God, whatever. Write down expectations that like, God, I need this in I need this in a person, and yeah, don't just be going with the flow. You need some expectations. But yeah, I want to say that. But yeah, what are some godly dating? What does that look like to you?
So I think I've had a lot of conversations with this because I go to like a Bible college, so everybody has their own opinion on what the Bible says. But realistically, when you look at it, the Bible doesn't give us really anything on dating.
Exactly.
And so I think a lot of what dating is going to look like is obviously sticking to like no sexual immorality, the obvious things like that. But I think a lot of it is like what are your personal convictions, and like, you know, what are the things that you personally struggle with? Because my boundaries might be different from your boundaries. Because we struggle with different things. And so obviously if you have an issue with self-control, your boundaries might be a little bit stricter than like other people's. And then, you know, it's just kind of, I think it's very
boundaries. That's
versatile.
Good. Yeah, that's good. I feel like I feel like I learned so much from relationships, and like I didn't realize boundaries were like a big thing until I didn't have boundaries, and I'm like, oh wow, I need some boundaries, you know, in our relationship. And so I feel like most people like overlook that, and it's like we don't need any boundaries. But yes, if you want to remain pure, if you want to remain in the will of God, then you have to set boundaries with your significant other. And like Gabby said, like her boundaries may not be the same as mine. Like her convictions aren't the same as mine. And that's okay. And also the Bible says nothing about dating. Like I've read, if you've never read Single, Dating, Engaged, Married, 10 out of 10 recommend. One of the best books I've ever.
Who's the author?
Ben Stewart. One of the best books I've ever read on dating. On singleness, dating, engaged, married, all of it. It's so good. And Paul says in the Bible, this is like off topic because this is not to do with dating, but anyways, he's like dating is not talked about in the Bible at all. Therefore God sees like dating as like singleness, like you're single dating, and then there's single, dating, engaged, and then there's marriage when you're becoming one. But while you're single, dating, and engaged, you're still two. Like you're not one person. Like we just gotta get that clear. Like you thinking like their prayer life is my prayer life. Like we're gonna like
it's not.
Exactly. So it's like you still have to have your own relationship with God. And I guess that would be my second question. Like having your own relationship with God, because most people's like their faith can be my faith, but
dude. Okay, so fun fact, I've never actually been in like a very healthy, godly relationship. I've had my fair share of healthy relationships, just not godly, and then I've had my fair share of godly relationships that just weren't healthy. But something that I really did admire from the situationship, would you call it, that I was in, we would do this thing where if I was at school, we're not texting. If I was at church, we're not texting. And then like every other afternoon or something, we would both put our phone down and be like, hey, I'm gonna disconnect. And we would just go do our thing with the Lord and have quiet time with Jesus. And that just maintained, like, it was a good way to maintain like healthy distance between both of us, and like make sure that we leave no space for like attachment or like anything like that, or like codependency, but then also like make sure that we both have space to maintain our own relationship with Jesus. I really love that.
That's good. I need to take some tips. And I also feel like I feel like attachment issues, like some of y'all are too obsessed with y'all's boyfriends. We have a lot of topics, and I'm just saying it irritates me of like how obsessed some people get with their boyfriends, and they like make that their like God. Like you get a boyfriend and you cut all your friends off. Like, baby, nobody cares. Like, I'm happy you got a boyfriend, but that doesn't mean you can cut everybody else off. It don't work like that. And so I feel like so many
Sounds like we have some things to work through.
Yes, we do. Because like it just irritates me. Like so many people, they're like, I have a boyfriend, I cannot hang out with you. I'm like, okay,
that person's watching.
That person's watching. It's not that deep. Like, it's really not that deep. Nobody wants your man. But anyways, I just feel like we don't have healthy attachment issues. Like, I had Abby and Dale on the podcast recently. Y'all, they are literally engaged, okay? They didn't start hanging out every day until they were engaged. And they hang out till 9:30. Like, they're like, this is a boundary we've set. Like, we don't hang out past 9:30. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I'm like, so y'all dated for 7 years and y'all only hung out
7 years?
7 years. Since they're like high school sweethearts.
How old are they?
Like 22 maybe, I want to say. Oh, it's 5 to 7, one of them.
Crazy.
I don't exactly remember. But they dated this long, y'all. And like they were like, we had to set like healthy like boundaries so we weren't like attached or co-relying on one another. So they would hang out on like Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and like the other 2 days they would hang out with their friends. And I just remember them saying like we had to make sure like we still had our own friends, because there would come a time to where like we would need counsel, and like we didn't have any friends, we didn't have any people because we cut everybody off. So it's like so important to make sure like I said, that you're not making that person your idol, because like it happens so easily and we don't think they are until they are.
That's correct.
So that was really good. Yeah. What else was I saying? Dang, we've almost been talking for 40 minutes. We gotta wrap this up soon.
And there's a lot of topics that we covered. I feel like these topics are so heavy. There's so much more that we could go into.
There's so much more. What else could we talk about?
Are you editing this? Okay. I don't know. Let me look at my thing. Oh. So like in the transition from like navigating heartbreak and like moving forward, and so like if you're like leaving that person behind, or like whatever that looks like, letting go. This is something I've struggled with. I guess, disregard that entire last part that I said. So, kind of, what the frig is that called? When you're like, kind of to piggyback off of attachment issues. Yeah. That's something that I've struggled with a lot, because, I don't know, whenever I didn't grow up super nurtured, and so like whenever somebody was to like nurture to my feelings, I would like very quickly get attached. Yeah. And so I would have problems with like letting people go, like letting people leave my life. But if you really love someone, sometimes love requires release. And so if someone walks away, let them walk away. And I definitely think another big thing that I learned this year is that you can't receive what God has for you next, or what's next in your life, until you let go of what is current. And so in that navigation, just remember, sometimes love requires release, as hard as that is. But like I said before, you'll never miss out on the will of God for your life.
Yeah, that's so good. And sometimes like it takes like them like being released and them like working on themselves to like better themselves for you. It's not like holding on to that hope that we're gonna get back together, but you don't know what God has in store. Like maybe God's like, okay, y'all like need to separate and like grow in me first before y'all can come back together and be married. Like you never know. And so I just feel like holding on to things that God doesn't have for you, or like trying to make them work, will just leave y'all both off on the dead end. Especially like if you know like there's some things in that person like they have to work on and they need to change, and you're like, but I just want them to do that with me, like, you know.
So it's so real.
It's so good.
I've done that. That's terribly unhealthy, and it's not fair for either of you. Can I just say
it's not fair for you. But yeah, I'm trying to think of like my other questions I had. I think another question was, okay, okay, I remember. So like finding like this girl had said like she had found her identity in what he said about her, like in him. And so like how does she walk through like transitioning that and like finding it in God, and like not letting another male like define her identity?
So for me, I actually struggled with the same thing, and I didn't realize that until this year. So after like leaving my last relationship or whatever, I was constantly seeking the approval of other people. And even just so completely lost after like that breakup that I went through, because like everything that he said about me was sustaining me. But it was only momentarily, and so this might be different for a lot of people, but I know I'm not like a super heavily emotional person. I'm a very practical person. And so that's something that I had to realize. So I guess one, learn yourself, learn how you function, learn how you heal, learn how you grow, learn what makes you happy. Like learn yourself. So like, I guess in lack of better words, like date yourself first.
Yeah.
In your season of singleness.
Yeah, that's so good. Like dating yourself. Like I feel like I was talking to my mom about this. Like I feel like our generation has like lost the thing of like just sometimes being by yourself. Sometimes you just need to spend time with yourself. Like go to the movies by yourself. Go on a coffee date by yourself.
It's so refreshing, I promise you. And that also, like we were talking about in the beginning, like letting go of fear. That's such a good practical way to do that. Go to a coffee shop by yourself. Go to the movies by yourself. Go to the park by yourself. I found this really nice park in Dallas where I live. Let me tell you something. I'm going to be going there a lot more often because it's beautiful and it's so peaceful.
Exactly. And like it's like if you don't love yourself, then how do you expect somebody else to love you? You know, like if you find your worth in someone else, like how do you expect them to respect you? Like you have to be like strong by yourself. And like I was that girl. I'm like, I don't need no man. Like I am high on my single season, and then like I met a guy and like I just fell in love with him. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't live without him. But God's like, where like I had placed God as number 2, and I had to do a reality check on myself. Like, okay, God, if I need God plus nothing to equal everything before I can step into any relationship. So God, if I'm not content in it just being me and you, then I'm not ready for a relationship yet. Like I need to be content. I don't need to be sad. Like yes, it's okay to long for those things, but if I'm sitting here moping because I don't have anyone, then I'm not ready to be in a relationship there. Because if I can't sit alone with God, like the pleasure of my husband's not gonna surely enough not sustain me anymore. So I just had to come to terms with like, until God plus nothing is everything for you, no person will ever be. And I feel like so many of us like are looking for people to complete us and not to compliment us. Like the only person that should be completing you is God. Like you're setting God-sized needs on human, and the only thing they will ever do is fail you. So that was just a reality check,
dude. Don't go into a relationship if you're not complete already, looking for someone else to complete you. It is not other people's responsibility to put you back together.
That's
okay,
so good.
So don't
yeah, like I be seeing those TikToks and girls like, he picked up my broken pieces. I'm like, honey, you need to because it's like, I think this can be easily misinterpreted, because I think that there's an extent of God using other people that are close to you to heal things in you. Yeah.
But you have to understand that it's not like that person's doing, it's the way that the Lord is working through them. So that is, write that down, because that can be very easily misinterpreted. And they would know that, not you. Like they would come into your life doing that you wouldn't be like, I need you to help me. Like no, God's gonna send like someone to look after you and do this for you. I read this book, and it's actually not about like breakups, it's about like childhood abuse, but there was a few quotes in it that just like completely wrecked me. It says, I allowed someone that didn't truly know how to love me dictate my thoughts and feelings. I found freedom the day that I chose to listen to the voice of the one who loves me perfectly.
That is so good.
Then another one says, oh shoot. Sorry guys, so sorry.
So good.
It says, I put limitations on my healing when I placed it into the hands of people and things that could not heal me. I waited around for a while until I realized that no human who holds flesh and bone is giving me a piece of closure. And even if they did, it would not be enough for me.
That's so good.
So it's really deep, and I guess like the question comes up, like how do I listen to the voice of God?
Yeah.
And so obviously again, it takes learning yourself. How do you personally hear God? That's one of the things that I love about him. He loves us all differently. He speaks to us all differently.
Yeah.
But I guess like how do you love God? And then if you find yourself in a place like where you feel like you're not hearing the voice of God, just read scripture. What does scripture say?
Yeah.
Because that, that's his word.
Yeah.
So just read that until you hear it.
Yeah, and I saw a thing recently, and it's like the voice of God and then like the voice of the world. The voice of God will never like, all the fruits of the spirit, and then look at the opposite of those. So the voice of God will never be confusing. That's not the voice of God. That's the voice of the enemy. It will never be fearful. Like you will not be full of fear. Like there's like the fruits of the spirit, and then the opposition of those, I would say, is the enemy. And then the fruits of the spirit are 9 out of 10 times the voice of God, or even the voice of God is like through people. Like, I cannot tell you how many times God has sent someone to talk to me. Like, I'll be like, God, I need a sign. Like, I just need a sign. And then someone will be like, Ataya, like, you're gonna be okay. And I'm like, thank you, God. And so I just, literally, you're hilarious. I'm like, thank you, like. But literally, like, some people are just angels in your life, and I feel like it's so important to find those people. Like, I cannot stress that enough. Finding your people, like, it's just, Lordy, like, the difference that would make. And like, also, never mind, I'm not gonna say this, but yeah, okay, so this was such a good episode, guys. I do not love this topic. I don't love
personally
this topic.
I love this topic.
I don't like it. I like happy endings. Like, we're gonna be back on here with our men.
But you know what? This is how you find your happy ending.
Okay, yeah, that's true. I guess this is one step closer, right? But yeah, so to close off the podcast, what would be your best piece of advice for someone walking through a season of singleness, heartbreak, all of that goodness?
I would say definitely, like I said before, you have to be able to yield your heart to brokenness before you can see the fullness of his healing.
That's so good. And I think mine would be like to enjoy this season. Like, yes, it sucks. It hurts to have your heart broken. I know it sucks. But like, this is my time to spend undivided attention with the Lord. Like, Paul even says it in Corinthians, like, whenever you're married, your time is divided between your husband, like your spouse, and the Lord. So this is my time to like grow as much as I can in the Lord. This is my time to like serve unconditionally in my church. This is my time to hang out with my friends as much as I want. Like, this is your time, all about you and the Lord. And so I feel like, do not waste this season. Like, whether you're walking through a heartbreak, like overcoming that, like just focusing on yourself. And I love like the saying, like, the first thing I like is like, you know, like the image of like the teddy bear and like the girl's holding it behind her back. Like, and then like God has so much bigger for you. I just love that image. Like, he has so much more for you than this little guy that broke your heart. And then also, like, you don't have to stop yourself to like for the person God has for you. Like, y'all are both gonna be running after God and running towards God together, and just meet up. So that would be my piece of advice. But yeah, guys, I hope this was, I'm sorry guys, I forgot the questions. Like, of course I did, and my phone's just like right here. But I hope this was like everything y'all needed and more. This is just us being honest, and like, we're honestly like both taking this advice and applying it to life. Like, but we're not in happy relationships.
Stuff that I'm actively learning.
Actively walking through, like actively being convicted, and just like God just showing us new things. But yeah, guys, love you guys, and I just pray y'all have a happy New Year's. And I will see y'all in 2025.
Merry Christmas first.
Oh, of course, it's before Christmas. Oh my gosh, yes, Merry Christmas. I love you guys. I hope y'all, Santa got y'all everything y'all asked for, or yeah, I don't know if y'all believe in Santa, but yeah. Merry Christmas. I forgot about Christmas. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's. Bye, guys.